It's the Toronto Blue Jays versus the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series. And if the Blue Jays happen to find a way to win, I'm going to drink this entire thing of maple syrup on air. I might even give myself a haircut. Not give myself a haircut, but give myself a mullet just to be as Canadian as possible. We're talking about the World Series and the Diamondbacks pitching options in free agency in 30 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Happy Tuesday to you all. Welcome into another edition of the PHNX Dbacks podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It is I, your mayor of the Great White North, occasionally known as, I don't know, Derek Canuck is what I'm going with. And we got Damon Pooch on the ones and twos today. Trying my best to use as many Canadian terms. We got some wonderful Canadian wares here on the table, including this Toronto Blue Jays hat on our boy Jesse Jr., because we do not want any Dodgers fans that stop by this podcast to get it twisted. We are, in fact, a Blue Jays podcast now. We're pivoting from the Mariners as much as it hurts our feelings and very much hurt Shane's feelings. But welcome into you all. Glad to have you guys here. This is the PHNX Diamondback show, and we will be talking Diamondback stuff as well. But welcome in to this show presented by our friends at Bet365 and Game Time. Make sure to use that code of PHNX365 when you sign up over there. Get yourself some bonus bets for following a few easy steps. Over at Game Time, make sure to use our code of PHNX. You'll get $20 off those already low last-minute ticket deals. Glad to have you guys here. Not thrilled to be saying goodbye to our Seattle Mariners. That one is still heartbreaking to us, and the ripple effects can be felt across this office for sure. But like I said, we are Canucks now. The Toronto Blue Jays will take on the Los Angeles Dodgers in the World Series after beating our Sea Snakes in Game 7 by a score of 4-3. And here we are. We're down to those final two teams. We are ready to rock and roll, and it still hurts. There's a lot of things that still hurt from this. I mean, obviously, we were fully on board with the Mariners. Not only did they have a lot of former Diamondbacks players on there, but like I said last night, when you proceed to root for a new team, you now take on loving that team, right? Like, I was doing it for the show purposes. I was doing it just to support our head of production here, Shane, and our guy Zach from our sales department as well. But with time, I found myself now adoring the Seattle Mariners team, becoming a Julio Rodriguez fan. It's easy to be a Julio Rodriguez fan, right, Damon? Like, that's not a guy that's hard to root against. It's
the whole team, honestly.
It's the reason why, and I said it before. I said it when it came to the Dodgers, and it's the reason why Damon labeled me as a Dodgers fan originally, and understandably so. But I had said that this Dodgers team is a very hard team to hate, simply because the guys that are there aren't really hateable baseball players. The Mookie Betts, the Freddie Freeman, the potential criminals. That's how you feel. Allegedly. For sure. Alleged criminals for sure. But with time, success will make me hate you. That's the way it is. I consider myself to be a mildly successful person in life. I mean, I do get to do this show for a living, and it is a dream come true. I won't lie about that. But there are people that are far more successful than me that I hate for no other reason, simply because of how successful they are. 100%. And the Dodgers are definitely in that category now. Should the Dodgers go on to win consecutive World Series, then it's easily a hateable team from the top of the roster to the bottom of the roster. But I'm still heartbroken over what happened to the Mariners team, and I don't think anything expresses that heartbreak as much as this clip during the post-game show that has been going around on the internet, where Brian Wu was giving a post-game, doing a post-game wrap-up, trying to be a professional and answer questions from the reporters. And in the background, you hear this. Damon, if you don't mind, can we play that clip?
Having gone as further than any other team in franchise history.
That legacy is.
That was Julio Rodriguez screaming in the clubhouse after that loss. And like,
is there anything more painful than that?
No. Like, it's blood curdling. It's terrifying. It's heartbreaking. It saddens me. It brings tears to my eyes because you can hear the pain, the anguish in that scream of how much this meant to this Mariners team, how much this meant to this Mariners fan base. Say what you will, make the jokes about them never making the World Series and kind of being born into this life of disappointment, similar to what we live here in Arizona, right? But that's a different level of disappointment. Not to mention the fact that after all of this time, never having made the World Series, to come that close, one game short after winning the first 2 games of the ALCS is utterly heartbreaking for that team and for that fan base, right? And I can't express that enough. I think it sucks. And as someone, like I said earlier, that's kind of grown attached to this team, rooting for them during this playoff run, that breaks my heart hearing that scream from Julio, for sure. I think it does show, again, once again, it shows how much it means to these players. We tend to think athletes don't care that much, or that they could essentially get over it because they'll get on a private plane.
Millions,
yeah, they're getting paid millions, and they'll get on a private plane and they'll do whatever. The scream personifies how that clubhouse feels after this loss and not making the World Series, and how much that clubhouse cared about making the World Series and ending this drought for the Mariners franchise. So that's just the victory, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat right there. But on the thrill of victory side, you have that George Springer home run, which, Damon, will that go down as one of the most iconic home runs in Major League Baseball history? Like, we don't have a lot of decisive.
I think it depends on what happens next, right?
Sure. That's a very good point, right? It's as I said about the Reds making the playoffs, right? Do you even remember the Reds made the playoffs?
No one ever will.
No.
Not even Reds fans.
No, and as much as we wanted to be that team, I fear we would have suffered a similar fate, as I've said before. Damon doubts me. Damon tells me I'm the loser talk, and then
I hate you.
He hates me, right? That rightfully so. You should all hate me for saying that, but it's the reality of the situation, and I am a man of science, so I can't help.
Geraldo Perdomo was going to turn into Barry Bonds in the playoffs.
Okay,
and
all right. Let's calm down. Let's calm down a little bit. All right, but I will say we have no idea what would happen, and that's an alternate reality that we can't even peek in just for fun. But again, that is part of the problem here with playoffs. Espo and I were just talking about it, and when the Suns were a team that made the playoffs, for instance, often, but didn't really make it as a high seed, or didn't really stand a chance once that first round came along, you tend to feel like you stop caring that they make the playoffs, right? Like, there was a point in time in my life where if my team, in an 8-seeded playoff bracket, was like the 6th seed or lower, I didn't even care that they made the playoffs. And typically I was right to do so, because typically they would just get bounced in the first round. When your team does make the playoffs often, then the expectations and the demands from the fans change, right? That's what we were talking about last week with the Brewers, where, they have a good game plan to consistently make the postseason, but when you always come up short and you can't even make it to the World Series, does it even matter that you have success in the regular season and had the best record in the National League? Not really. It's a footnote. It's something that will be discussed. Who had the best record in the National League in 2025? Outside of that, and outside of, flying an L flag against the Cubs and then immediately being swept, there's not much about, the Brewers playoff run that's really going to be remembered, right? So that tends to be the case, and you are absolutely right. That George Springer home run does become iconic should the Toronto Blue Jays go on to defeat the Dodgers here in the World Series. And this is not going to be an easy feat, but I will say that the Blue Jays are one of the teams that it does feel like when you look at their numbers from the 2025 season, they have a chance to beat the Dodgers. And the World Series is set to begin this Friday on October 24th. This marks the Blue Jays' first World Series appearance since their back-to-back championships back in 92 and 93, while the Dodgers are aiming for their second consecutive title and fifth in 9 years. And second, that doesn't have a little asterisk next to it. But game 1 is on Friday, game 2 on Saturday. Then game 3 and 4 come back to Dodger Stadium. Those first 2 games are at Rogers Stadium in Toronto. Games 3 and 4 come back to Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. That is on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday if game 5 is necessary, if the Blue Jays haven't swept the Dodgers by then. And then game 6 will take place on Halloween, something we very much remember from 2023. And then if necessary, game 7 will take place on Saturday, November 1st, again in Toronto, those two games. What do you like I know it makes sense travel-wise, obviously, but do you like the 2-3-2 format that baseball uses, Damon? Or like, does it make it a bit more fair to have the 2-2-1-1-1 format?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's always an interesting discussion. I really have no idea, like if I feel like if you're down 2-0 and you're the road team, you almost prefer the 3 games in a row, right?
Right. And that's the reason why I just think it's weird, because essentially going up, if every team wins their home game, it's almost a disadvantage, really, for the team with the better record, because they'll have 2 games, then they go 3 back at the opponent's home, and now the opponent just has to win 1 game of the final 2 theoretically to win the series, right? So like,
and then there's the Phillies.
And then there's the Phillies. Got them. They weren't even doing anything. They were just innocently standing there, and you just got them anyway. Good job.
I mean, I guess in that series, that's a good kind of way to look at it, right? Because I mean, the Diamondbacks were down 2-0. They clawed back 2-2, and then they lost game 5, right? 3-2.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was over because the Phillies just had to win 1 more game in Philadelphia.
Right.
But some teams are mentally tougher than that and built to win on the road in the playoffs. And unfortunately, the Dodgers, I don't think, have lost a road playoff game yet, right? Yeah. So, I mean, maybe they're that team, but it's going to be an electric World Series. The home environments for both crowds should be insane.
They definitely should be. The Dodgers, at least, their electricity will start around the 4th inning, though, whereas things should start right away in the Rogers Center. I could only imagine staying in that hotel during the World Series to be able to get to watch a World Series game from your room. Those prices have to be astronomical. We need to look into that before the end of this week. Let's see if we can make a reservation. I'm going to doubt it. But looking at these 2 teams, like I said earlier, they are fairly well. It's a fairly good matchup between these 2 teams. They are pretty close on a lot of categories. If we take a look at the Blue Jays at a glance, you'll see here their record. This is their numbers from the regular season. Same thing with the Dodgers. Blue Jays had a 94-68 record. They finished 1 game better than the Dodgers, giving them home field advantage in this series. Their OPS is this season during the regular season was 760, which was 3rd. Starting pitching ERA this season, not great, 4.34, which was 20th in Major League Baseball. Their bullpen, 3.98, which was 16th in Major League Baseball, and their outs above average, 16, which finished 9th. Interestingly enough, just ahead of the Dodgers there defensively. Damon, this is another situation. I know we usually do these at-a-glances during the season, but man, with the 20th best starting pitching ERA in baseball and the 16th best relief pitching in baseball, the Blue Jays managed to have essentially the 2nd best record in the entire league. And it just once again reiterates to me how different the Diamondbacks season was if their ERA for their bullpen could have managed to be there, right there, around 15th, 16th in the league, just middle of the road. We would be talking about them not only being in the playoffs, but my opinion probably would have changed drastically about their chances against the Dodgers. But speaking of the Dodgers, let's take a look at their season at a glance. Dodgers were 93-69 in 2025, like I said, finishing just 1 game below the Blue Jays. Their run differential was plus 142, which goes to show that this Dodgers offense is a powerhouse. And really, we haven't seen this sleeping dragon that is the Dodgers offense wake up much here during the postseason. Their starting pitching has absolutely dominated this postseason, and that is a big reason why they are where they are at. But also that man Shohei, aka Parlay Ohtani, he is definitely a man that had himself a huge game there in the finale against the Brewers, hitting 3 home runs and striking out 10. The Dodgers' OPS this year was 768 as a team, which was second in all of Major League Baseball. They had a 3.69 starting pitching ERA, which was very, very good, 5th in all of Major Leagues. Bullpen, meanwhile, a lot of questions there and have been all season long, but they have been performing much better here in the postseason. They had a 4.27 ERA this season, which was tied for 20th, and outs above average was 12 for the Dodgers defense there, finishing 10th, again, just below the Toronto Blue Jays in Major League Baseball. But obviously, Ohtani, the reigning World Series MVP, he is going to be a dual threat.
Don't speak of that on my podcast, Derek. I'm going to pull the my podcast card.
Yeah, no, you should. You should for sure. We'll just move on. Yoshinobu Yamamoto has had an incredible postseason in 2025. 1.83 ERA, 8.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, Damon, in 19 2/3 innings pitched. Just incredible. And then you also have 2-time Cy Young Award winner Blake Snell. And it's kind of funny to see Dodgers fans just being like, thank God he's on our side now, because they were sick of losing to Snell, and he has been dominant for the Dodgers with a 3.15 ERA over his 10-year career span. And it's almost non-existent here in the postseason. Then you have Tyler Glasnow, who's just there also having himself a fine postseason, like not as good as Snell and Yamamoto, but with the way Ohtani, Yamamoto, and Snell are all pitching, you might not even need Glasnow in there as a starter. You might be able to stash him away or maybe have him come out of the bullpen should any of these other 3 guys falter for a longer relief pitching appearance, and that wouldn't be the worst situation for them. That formidable pitching staff has a combined 1.40 ERA and 81 strikeouts over 10 postseason starts. Nuts stuff from them. But meanwhile, the Blue Jays, their offense is potent. Like I said, this is the immovable object versus the unstoppable force with these two teams. Vladimir Guerrero was named ALCS MVP after hitting .385 with 3 home runs and 4 walks in the series. George Springer, of course, delivered what I am calling an iconic 3-run homer in Game 7 of the ALCS. And then they have Bo Bichette on the horizon that is expected to return from a knee injury for the World Series. So the Blue Jays look to be strong there, at least depth-wise. Dalton Varsho has also been having himself an excellent, postseason for sure. And they have a balanced offense. They have, a high contact rate. They hit home runs. They get on base and will single you to death. They've been making hard contact all postseason long. And again, the Mariners did a good job in a couple of those games at holding the Blue Jays, especially after, the layoff that the Blue Jays had a little bit longer than the Mariners. But again, the Blue Jays came roaring back, and their offense looks like it is on a roll now for sure. But the Dodgers obviously do enter the series as favorites based on their pitching and their postseason experience. But that Blue Jays offense, man, they're resilient. They have a really good bullpen, not from the season, as you can tell by those numbers, but in the postseason, their bullpen has been lights out. So it's going to be interesting to see how the ace-heavy rotation there from the Los Angeles Dodgers can, do battle against these dynamic Blue Jays hitters. And then obviously it's about what George Springer, one of the best postseason hitters in MLB history, and what Vladdy Jr. Can do here against this Dodgers pitching staff. But really, really fun matchup here. And like I said earlier, I just feel like this is a comparable matchup between these two teams. It's going to be one of the best offenses versus one of the best pitching staff. So can't wait to see how this all turns. But I also am still feeling very sad for all of our Mariners fans here in the office. But we'll go ahead and move on from this, because we need to start fixing the Arizona Diamondbacks. And on the other side of this break, we're going to talk about a pitcher that we started speaking about last night, Ranger Suarez, former, at least for now, former Philadelphia Philly. He is a free agent this offseason. We will see if going after Suarez makes sense, or if just bringing back Zac Gallen is a much cheaper, comparable option there for the Diamondbacks. So don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Well, Rally House is the go-to spot for all your favorite local Arizona team gear. I always get asked where I get my stuff from. Of course, my stuff, I'm a connoisseur of Arizona team gear. I have to go all over the place and find it. I have to go to random websites I've never even heard of before, just to find some of this cool stuff, when I could just go to Rally House and find everything in one place. They have shop locations in Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale right now. And if you haven't checked out Rally House for all your game day needs, they have everything you need, whether it's jerseys, hats, shirts, drinkware, signage, coolers, stuff for your tailgate. They got you covered over there at Rally House. They carry only Arizona sports teams too. Every time you visit a Rally House, you're guaranteed to find something new, unique, and that matches your game day vibe. Find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at rallyhouse.com today. And whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, and for good reason. They make watching live sports more fun. They pioneered live in-game betting and offer the widest range of games and markets available across 78 sports. But most importantly, during football season, it is a whole heck of a lot of fun to get down on Bet365. Right now, you can get down on the early payout offers for both NFL and college football, where you're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections, which are marked as winners. I won't lie. I sit here on the show. I do this ad read all the time. I talk about Bet365 all the time. I'm in there all the time, and it still never ceases to shock me when a game is not over and I have been paid out by Bet365 on one of their early payout offers. Still counts for baseball as well, where you're a winner if your team goes up by 5 runs in the World Series with an instant payout on straight bets, as well as parlay selections being marked as winners. So right now, new customers, you can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet $5 win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use that code of PHNX365, deposit $10 and place a bet of $5 to get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, players, props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or over and physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. On yesterday's show, Damon and I kind of got off topic a little bit. I don't even think the question related to starting pitching, but we did get asked.
It was realistic free agents, so yeah, we were not off topic.
We weren't off topic, but we might have been going a little unrealistic or realistic, depending on your point of view on this. Now, the Diamondbacks have a very limited budget this offseason. I've heard people say they're so sick of hearing that about this team, and trust me, I am sick of saying it. But it's the reality of the situation, right? With contracts increasing, players receiving more money, and quite frankly, Ken Kendrick saying that this team is not going to spend as much next year as they did this year. It's a foregone conclusion that they will have a limited budget based on what they're already committed to and what their budget was last year, and deducting even a small amount from that total, right? So we're still sitting in the neighborhood of the Diamondbacks having $25 to $30 million to spend this offseason. Not great, not a lot of money. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that the Diamondbacks necessarily have to give someone a contract that pays them that much on an annual value just this year, right? All the time they've gotten creative with the way they've structured contracts. Hell, look at what the Dodgers did with Shohei Ohtani. Maybe we're not going to be able to convince somebody to take that big of a pay cut in a deferred payment situation. However, there's creative ways around it, right? So no matter what an annual adjusted or expected annual value is for a player's salary, the Diamondbacks can find ways to structure it depending on how much that player wants to come here and join the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, not a great situation, right? So I'm sure that there aren't going to be a ton of players clamoring to come join this team due to how competitive they are. However, some teams don't care about that. Some teams want, a little bit more of a centralized location thing, as you've seen with Corbin Burns and others, where living in Arizona and being part of this Diamondbacks team is something that they desire and will make their lives considerably better. Some players very much enjoy living here. There's players that don't even play for the Diamondbacks and never have, that have homes here simply because of spring training and because of how much they enjoy the weather. So with that being said, we are going to discuss the pros and cons of going after these two guys, but there were two starting pitchers that are of similar age, similar statistics, that the Diamondbacks could go after. One is a very familiar name as far as face on this team. The other one is a very familiar foe. And that's who we're going to start with today. It's who we discussed a little bit yesterday during the Mailbag Monday session. Ranger Suarez, former Philadelphia Philly. Ranger Suarez is a free agent this offseason, and he had himself a very good 2025, which is definitely a pro for Suarez. He had a 12-8 record with a 3.20 ERA, over 157 and a third innings pitched, including 151 strikeouts. His whip stood at 1.22. And again, he was a very effective pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. We can take a look here at his career numbers. And as you can see, at 30 years old, Ranger Suarez has had himself a pretty consistent good career. In 762 innings pitched, his ERA stands at 3.38. He has a baseball reference WAR of 17.8, 705 strikeouts, and a 1.27 whip. Ranger, again, he has been considered one of the best pitchers in baseball at times. He's an elite pitcher. He has, again, that resiliency in high leverage situations. He's contributed significantly to the playoff success for the Phillies. And I feel like he doesn't even get credit at times for being one of their best pitchers. It always feels like the Phillies have a bigger name that kind of sits atop of the rotation and kind of is that star pitcher for them. But meanwhile, Suarez has just been doing it over his entire career for the Phillies. And he has been a bit, durable. He has had some injuries, like he experienced some reoccurring back issues, and a notable back issue last season that affected his ability to perform there later in the season. But again, the Diamondbacks really, and that could be a good reason not to want to invest so much in someone like Ranger Suarez, right? But when he's healthy, he's been durable, and again, those back issues seem to be in the past for him. But a bigger, I guess, con here than just his injury history is the cost for Ranger Suarez, right? We were trying to look at available free agent options yesterday, as Damon said, that were reasonable. And right now, Suarez is projected to receive a contract worth around $161 million over 6 years. His expected market value is $27 million per year. So again, the Diamondbacks could get very creative with a Ranger Suarez contract. And as far as what the Dbacks are going to do long-term for their starting pitching staff, it would be great to have somebody that's been as consistent in his career as Suarez locked up for the next 6 years. You feel like that would be a great transition, as Corbin Burns was expected to be, from the Zac Gallen, Merrill Kelly era to what would come in 2026. Unfortunately, due to injury, he won't be that. But Ranger Suarez could be an incredible number 2 pitcher for the Diamondbacks behind Corbin Burns when he returns. And for the time being, quite frankly, Ranger Suarez could be the ace for this staff. But again, the $27 million theoretically, as I said earlier, that would be the Diamondbacks' entire budget for this offseason. They would not be able to add much else free agency wise, and we know that there is no way that the Diamondbacks can only add one starting pitcher this offseason and have that be enough to make this team competitive for 2026. Pitching needs to be addressed, and the Diamondbacks, quite frankly, right now need 2 starting pitchers. Wherever they get those from, that's fine, but they need 2 starting pitchers. Like we said with the bullpen, it's not a great situation, but the bullpen has enough living, breathing human beings in it to start the 2026 season. Is it the best options for you? No, but you feel pretty good about some of the young pitchers in there. You feel good about Ryan Thompson being a little bit of now a veteran leader of that staff. And you feel pretty good about guys like Brandon Garcia and Philip Abner being able to come back next year and be very good potentially for this bullpen, even though they're very young, arms that were called upon pretty quickly in their career, including Abner, who we've talked about going from Hillsborough to striking out Ohtani over the course of one season. So that was a pretty fast track progression for him. But like I said, you do feel like you have enough arms for the bullpen to play baseball, to play a regular season. Meanwhile, you can't say the same right now about starting pitching. And quite frankly, they can't just get one starting pitcher. They need 2. So Suarez would be the entirety of your budget if you don't figure out a way to defer payments or structure the contract inwardly where maybe he's getting paid higher in 27 and 28 than he does in 26, just to allow that flexibility financially for the team. And I think players are willing to do that. I don't think that's the end of the world for them. They're still going to get paid millions of dollars for the particular season. That's going to be, get paid less, but they also have the bigger payday to look forward to in future seasons. So that could be a way around it. However, it still feels like the cost is going to be too high. And quite frankly, I just don't know if the Diamondbacks will be able to go after one of the elite available free agent pitching arms on the market, right? So Ranger Suarez, though, 30 years old. Another guy that's 30 years old, Zac Gallen. We're going to take a look at his numbers and see how comparable he actually is to Ranger Suarez, because despite the fact that it feels like these two pitchers are in very different places, they actually are much closer than you might think. Really, with Suarez, it just comes to the fact that the Phillies had so many years of making the playoffs. Suarez has been involved in so many winning seasons for that team. And, again, I even remember a really rough outing against the Diamondbacks back in September of this year, where he allowed 6 runs over 4 innings. And you just kind of felt like, again, maybe Ranger was washed a little bit. That's how quickly we feel this way about pitchers. And Zac Gallen has received that treatment for his 2025 season. Gallen would probably be the first person to tell you that his 2025 season was absolute garbage. He would be probably the first person to tell you that he's better than he was in 2025. The problem is you could argue that last season was so bad for Gallen that it significantly impacted his value during the worst possible time in his career. So did it impact it enough where Zac Gallen might be a value buy for the Diamondbacks in 2025, or in 2026? As crazy as that sounds, it's possible. But Damon, Ranger Suarez overall, what are your thoughts on him as a viable free agent? And again, looking at those numbers, that ERA over his career, is he worth that cost of $161 million roughly, or $27 million per year over the next 6 seasons?
I mean, it's a hefty price, right? But I think that what we've seen is if there's a willingness to get it done on the player side of things, I feel like Ken Kendrick is open to being flexible with his plan. You know what? I feel like he's shown that the last 2 seasons. We thought the Diamondbacks were done spending after a pretty big offseason. And then who'd they bring in? Jordan Montgomery for $20 million out of nowhere when we thought that there was no budget left, right? So I feel that, there's a scenario where maybe Ranger Suarez is holding out for a contract that doesn't come, because we all know how weird baseball free agency is. Sure. Arizona maybe, makes a couple bigger signings. We're going to talk about the DH situation. But maybe they do what me and you have determined is the plan, which is Ryan O'Hearn times Paul Goldschmidt as the platoon, right?
There's our platoon.
And maybe they bring in another pitcher, like they re-sign one of the Dbacks guys, and so it feels like the budget's kind of taken up. But Ranger's out there, and Mike Hazen comes to Ken and says, "Hey, Ken, I feel like we can get pretty good value here." I wouldn't be shocked if the Diamondbacks went a little bit above that threshold that you're talking about, Derek, of that like $30 million range. So while I do agree that I think that the expectation should be that the budget is going to take a step back this year, I do think that it's like that's a good place to temper expectations, but that it's entirely possible that the Diamondbacks go out there and make like a big signing. We didn't think Corbin Burns was possible either.
I completely agree. And Michael Dixon asked a great question. If you scroll back there, Dave, and he asked about when can free agents start signing 10 days after end of series, or is that qualifying offer? So MLB free agents can sign with a new team beginning the day after the World Series concludes, the day after. Wow. But there's a 5-day exclusive window for teams to re-sign their own free agents before they can officially sign with any team. That's the qualifying offer period that you're talking about, Michael. So it's 5 days, and during that period of time, only the team that just lost the player can sign them. After that exclusivity period ends, the player can sign with any team. So that's where we're at. And of course, that would be November 2nd, 2024, or 2025, excuse me.
I always think it's wild
Looking
when you're
past.
in the middle of like an NBA playoff run and two teams that didn't make it are trading with each other.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's happening
Yeah,
right
why
now?
are you doing this?
Yeah, why are the
you-
Hornets and the Jazz making a trade right now?
Sure.
It's pretty insane.
Sure. And then let's say Deborah asks, any chance they do not make changes, save money, and you have contracts ending next year, such as Torrey? They could punt on 2026. Absolutely, Deborah. I don't think they will. I don't think there's a chance of that. But there's also no chance that they can't make any changes. They have to make changes. I mean, unless by not making any changes, they bring back Merrill Kelly and bring back Zac Gallen. Right? Like
The gang's back together.
Yeah, they get the gang back together.
Minus Gino and Naylor.
Yeah. And someone else even asked about that. And I mean, again, you got to realize that the Diamondbacks made those moves for those guys, not because they couldn't keep them, not because they wouldn't re-sign them. Maybe a bit of that, especially with how hot Gino was here, and Josh Naylor perhaps gave them the impression, as he did to many fans, that he wasn't happy here and didn't want to stay here. I still don't think that's the truth, but I don't know. I mean, I can agree that after seeing Josh be as happy as he was as a Seattle Mariner, maybe there was some truth
Have we
to
ever
him
just
being
thought
miserable here.
maybe Josh just likes to win? And
Maybe.
the way that the Diamondbacks season was going was as much as it was for all the fans wearing on Josh Naylor's mentality
Guilty.
in a way that is similar to us, where it's like, man, dude, we feel like we're winning all these games late. We blow them. We should have like a 10-game better record than what we do. Like, it's disheartening, I'm sure, when you're in the moment too. It's just some players like a Corbin Carroll are really good at, pretending like it doesn't affect them. You know what I mean?
Damon, despite my sunny disposition, I am one of the sorest losers you're going to find on the planet, right? So,
for sure.
Yeah, like I remember there was a time where, believe it or not, I was playing in an indoor co-ed soccer league, and I hated every single game. We were such a bad team. We were a bunch of misfits that just decided to play for fun. Meanwhile, there were former D1 athletes on the opposition that were just out there to kick the ass of people like me, right? So also, girls were very mean in co-ed soccer, very mean. And we got beat every single game. I don't know if we won a single game in the 2 seasons I played indoor co-ed soccer. And what I will say is that I never got used to losing. And like, I felt like my entire demeanor changed over that period of time, where like I hated it was like Tuesday nights. And I would wake up grumpy on Tuesday knowing that I had a game that night, because I knew we were just going to go, I was going to get a cramp in my side and we were going to run around and get beat by another team for 60 minutes is what was going to happen, right? So like, yeah, that kind of stuff can impact you, especially, I'm not even used to winning, as I covered earlier in this episode.
Just hate losing.
I just hate losing, right? That's why I tend to abstain from competition. I just enjoy being on the sidelines, making funny, dumb comments about how you guys all are doing out there. It's what I was put on this earth to do, commentate. But again, when it comes to this situation, Ranger Suarez, the price seems a little too high. The back issue concerns me. And more importantly, we are going to talk about another 30-year-old man that we are much more familiar with than Zac Gallen, who might just be the better option and might not cost this team nearly as much money as Ranger Suarez will. We're going to do that on the other side of this break. Don't you guys go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Well, Pure Edibles was founded in Arizona, and we love them for it. We love local, and of course, they are available in 130 dispensaries statewide. But again, this company from Flagstaff, Arizona, makes some incredible candies. They don't make just gummies like a lot of companies do. They make a wide variety of gummies or candies depending on your preferences. They got hard candies, they have chews, they have kicks, which are their version of Starburst, and so much more. They also have a wide variety of strains and, of course, effects. And all of those effects are clearly listed on each tin. Right now, they are collaborating with one of my favorite breweries in this entire state, also from Flagstaff, Arizona, Mother Road Brewing Company, that makes the amazing Tower Station IPA, has collaborated with Pure Edibles to make the iconic Noble Road Tower Station IPA all in one, where it's happy hour all the time. This new offering captures the crisp citrus and piney hops of Arizona's favorite IPA, but adds a smooth THC twist in an all-in-one device. So get yours right now if you're in Arizona. Swing by select local dispensaries and grab your Tower Station all-in-one from Noble Road. And go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of over 130 dispensaries across the state of Arizona. Speaking of traveling across Arizona, make sure you stop in at Circle K if you are out and about. It is America's thirst stop. It is Arizona's thirst stop. And right now you can save yourself some money on gas this Thursday, October 23rd from 6 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. You can save 40 cents off per gallon. That is for Inner Circle members only. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the app. It's easy to download and get enrolled. Then you just use your phone number at the pump to save on gas. You can also save on Polar Pops, which are 79 cents for our friends that are Inner Circle members, as well as 99-cent Frosters. They have 3 28-ounce Gatorades for $5. And you can also go in, get yourself spend $5 in the store or get yourself 5 gallons of gas, and you will save 10 cents per gallon on your next fill up. So get all of this savings right now by joining the Inner Circle for free. Download the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions do apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. Well, Mike, we have discovered Roger Beshan's. What is this? This is Roger Beshan's, right? Mike Shade. No one else talks about throwing the Roger Beshan's football slider other than Roger Beshan. So I think we found his burner account. But
I mean, Derek.
Yeah, I mean that's obvious here. But I will say this: that nobody on this staff,
Love you, Roger.
Yeah, no one on this staff should throw the football slider because I don't think they're qualified to do so. To throw it like a football stiff wrist.
Roger taught Ohtani the football slider. Actually, I don't know if you knew that.
I heard he also taught him how to use. No, we won't do that. But anyway, what we will do is we'll go into Zac Gallen's numbers, like I said, because believe it or not, Zac Gallen and Ranger Suarez are very, very comparable here on their career numbers. Now, Zac Gallen obviously had himself a very bad 2025 at the worst possible time, quite frankly, in his career. And if you look at his numbers overall, he has been trending in that direction since the Diamondbacks World Series run, quite frankly. 2024 wasn't great for Gallen, and 2025 was even worse. But over the course of his career, Zac Gallen has been fairly consistent, and that's what makes the struggles this season so kind of mind-boggling, especially the juxtaposition of how good Gallen was at times versus how bad he was. But looking here at his career stats, Gallen had himself in 1,007 1/3 innings pitched. Do we have those stats, Damon? Zac Gallen had a 3.58 ERA, a 20.7 BWAR to, once again, compared to the career WAR of Ranger Suarez, who had a 17.8 WAR, 1,060 strikeouts in those 1,007 1/3 innings pitched, to the 705 by Ranger Suarez, and then again a 1.159 WHIP for Gallen to the 1.270 WHIP for Ranger Suarez. Now, of course, Gallen did this in 7 seasons for the Arizona Diamondbacks to Ranger Suarez's 8 seasons for the Rangers. Ranger had a couple of really bad seasons, including 2020, where he did not pitch. He only pitched 3 games. 2018 in his rookie season, he only had 3 starts. But after that, he spent some time in the bullpen in 2019. Meanwhile, Zac Gallen kind of had the opposite kind of career trajectory. And that's where you could say, looking at Suarez's numbers, Suarez is improving here over the course of his career. His ERA, from 2023 was 4.18. His ERA in 2024 was 3.46, and then his ERA in 2025 was 3.20. Meanwhile, like I said, Zac Gallen's numbers have gone in the opposite direction. 2022, Gallen had a 2.54 ERA. 23, 3.47. 24, 3.65. And now in 2025, the worst ERA of his career at 4.83, especially for a full season. Gallen did have 23 starts in 2021 where he posted a 4.30 ERA. But as you can see, as I said there, over the last few seasons, you've kind of seen that ERA get higher over the course of his career or over the course of his season. And now we don't know if Zac's proven track record is a good thing or, if quite frankly, he's washed washed. I like to use that phrase when I can't think of anything better. Gallen has consistently been a reliable starter over the entire course of his career. That is what Gallen is for this team, and 2025 was such an outlier for him. He did end up still not awful at 13-15 with a 4.83 record, just not Zac Gallen-esque, right? Not what
he had a good second half. He looked Zac Gallen-esque at the end of the season.
Exactly. So if you want to go based on recency, that's definitely something to consider. He did have a strong first half of his season. Deborah asks, do we know why Gallen has struggled? Not really. I mean, I do think that when you look at what was going on in the first half of the season, a lot of it had to do with his fastball command. I also felt like it had to do with Zach nibbling too much instead of attacking the strike zone. Like, again, you sometimes just have to put that pressure on batters in order to get them to swing, and Gallen had too many walks. You saw him go up 0-2 in counts and then lose guys and walk them on a full count. There was just entirely too much of that. And I don't know if it was Gallen not believing in himself. Michael Dixon agrees with me. He says because he nibbles too much. And that's it. Nibbling's fine for Cosmo. Cosmo's allowed to nibble only a little bit, though. I mean, he can really bite hard. But nibbling, as far as Gallen was concerned, wasn't great. And I felt like it was a weird lack of confidence, right? Candace says he seems like he was scared to pitch. The difference that James McCann made seemed to be simple. James McCann, yes, there were a lot of great things we've covered that McCann did, right? Glue guy, throwing the sunflower seeds in people's hair.
Sexy
arms with wraps around them that I still don't understand. Like, if I wasn't meant to compliment his arms, then there's no reason why you should have had him wrapped up like he was the Ultimate Warrior, right? But I will say that the one thing that someone like McCann was able to do was he was able to be like a person from the outside coming in and reminding Gallen who he was, right? And sometimes that's all you need is like this third party that you're not really familiar with. You might have spoken to a couple of times, or you might know them on a casual basis, but now for them to be a teammate of yours and look you in the face and be like, dude, you rock, you're awesome, you are one of the toughest pitchers I faced. I'm sure the language was a lot more colorful than that, but still, Zac Gallen has a proven track record of being a reliable starter for this team. And that is something that you kind of know you're getting out of Zach. And I don't think that his performance is going to decline. I think 2025 or 2026, at 30 years old will be one of Gallen's best, because now he has a wealth of experience on the mound, and he still has a heck of a lot of skill. I think he also has a lot to still prove. Like, things were going in a really good way, in a good direction for Zach, and then he faced a lot of adversity over the last 2 seasons. So, again, I think that he wants, as every player in baseball wants, that big contract, and I think that he will get it. Just depends on when he's going to get it. Right now, Gallen is expected to reject a qualifying offer from the Diamondbacks and test free agency, right? And according to Spot Track, Gallen's market value is that of a, get this, Damon, 4-year deal worth $74.8 million.
Sign me up yesterday. If that's the deal, Derek, I am all the way in on bringing Zac Gallen back.
$18.7 million annual value.
I saw that yesterday. I told you I think it was after our show. I told you that I think that seems too low, and that other teams will value Zac Gallen higher than that. We also talked about the qualifying offer aspect of it and whether or not he would probably just play for $23 million and go about his offseason again the next year. But even though he's a Boris client, which is, not a usual thing that a Boris client does, Derek looks like he's willing to add to the pot, though.
I have a crisp $5 bill to throw on it right now as we speak, Damon. And as you know, I don't throw around money all willy-nilly. I don't have the money to do that. But I will give you this $5 if we all throw in $5, right? There's got to be enough of us Diamondbacks fans that at least that takes care of 1 year of his salary. I don't know.
What are we, like 20th in attendance?
Yeah.
There's enough of us.
There's dozens of us, in fact.
For sure. I think that 18.7 for you, Derek, is enough to sign him up on a multi-year contract if that's what it takes. That seems very reasonable and like a really, really good contract for a elite SP2 like Zac Gallen maybe could be. Maybe he isn't that guy anymore. Who knows? But I think that we've seen the flashes of that. And when Corbin Burns gets back, if your 1-2 is Corbin Burns, Zac Gallen, you got to feel pretty good about that.
And maybe he doesn't want 4 years. Maybe Gallen doesn't want to commit to 4 more years of this team. Maybe he doesn't see, that being his future. But a 2-year deal, like that could help everybody. Gallen accepting the qualifying offer, again, is a win. It's a win-win for the Diamondbacks in regards to the qualifying offer, right? Because for Gallen, it's going to be what, $22 million roughly. So Gallen's going to receive more money through this qualifying offer for 1 year, giving him a chance to come back to this team that he's very familiar with. Once again, be the ace of the staff, because he will until Corbin Burnes returns.
Yeah, and he can be that guy.
Then he's still 1A, 1B, arguably, whatever the hell you want to call him, whatever. That's fine. But we know he's 2. Right, 2 is what he is. You're number 2 in the starting rotation. However, again, that's fine, and it could just be enough for Gallen to continue the stretch that he had on the second half of the season, rebound to be the Zac Gallen that we all knew he was from 24 and 23 and 22, and then get that big contract after the 2026 season. Nothing is promised for us beyond the 2026 season. Baseball may never come back. December 2026, that might be the end of me as a person, Damon. I might fade away into dust in the wind when baseball goes away. That's the purpose that I was on this earth for, is to cover baseball. But for the short term, it makes a lot of sense for Gallen to take an annual value that's more than what he's going to receive on a longer term deal, right? With the potential that after 2026, he could get even more money. And at that point, he could potentially get that 5-year deal from the Yankees or another team.
Yeah,
that
I feel like
seeking.
He'd probably like to work in some sort of, player option potentially in a deal like that. Where,
for like a 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years with like a player option for that second year of like, well, if he doesn't have a good season, then he can go ahead and collect $20 million more in another basically 1 year deal, and just gives him a little bit more security. I don't know if that's something that's up Zach's alley, but I'm all for attempting to bring him back. I've said that, long before, like Zac Gallen, Merrill Kelly, I want one of those guys back this offseason, and hopefully we get it.
Well, you could say, again, if he does reject it and doesn't return to this team, 4.93 ERA over his last 41 starts. That goes back to mid-2024. So that just shows that Gallen, for an extended period of time, has been nearly a 5 ERA. Now,
yeah, he hasn't been himself, right? And I think
but like you said, the second half of 2025 is a much different story. It does factor in overall and does get that ERA down below 5 without the way he pitched in the second half. We would probably be talking about nearly a 6 ERA for the 2 seasons, or season and a half.
It's honestly true. I mean, I think that that's the only thing that's for me the saving grace. Like if Zac Gallen finished the season out pitching how he pitched in the first half, I'd be sitting here being like, you know what? He was a great Diamondback. We had a lot of great memories. And sayonara, Mr. Gallen. We wish you the best. But I think that the fact that he did pick it up, and it wasn't like a short sample size. It was basically half a season of baseball that, he was a quality pitcher again, the guy that we remember watching, even if he wasn't his tip top again, right? But I think that bodes well for he was gonna always positively regress back to his average, his mean, and that is a good starting pitcher in Major League Baseball.
He just didn't have enough starts left once he did turn things around to really turn the entire season around, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be an equitable amount of games from the first half, right? Because it's not even – that's another dumb thing about baseball. The first half isn't even the first half. The first half is like – 100 games or something like that. So anyway, but I will say that Gallen overall makes me believe in him. But El Gallo is not wrong here. Neither is Deborah. Deborah says, please hit the like button. She's definitely not wrong. But El Gallo says he could get hurt. It's too risky for pitchers.
What's too risky? Is he saying the
I think the longer term deal, I think like for instance with Ranger Suarez, right? A 6-year deal with Gallen, a long term deal, right? And I do think that that's something the Diamondbacks that's where they have to live in a way. In order for them to get guys like Corbin Burnes and Jordan Montgomery, most likely, it can't be on a long-term deal because of the fact that if they do get injured, if what happens, it's devastating to this franchise. We've talked about the Dodgers and their money and how they have the money to overcome mistakes that they made with certain roster decisions, and not even a roster decision, right? Just having a player get injured and having that strongly impact your team like it would any other of the 29 other fan base or MLB teams, right? Any of the other teams have a significant catastrophic injury to their best player and they are handicapped. The Dodgers could have it happen and they have 3 other guys waiting to step up who will probably pitch better than he did before he got injured, right? So, but when the Diamondbacks, you do got to consider Suarez's injury to his back and then Gallen's injury with the hamstring thing, right? That seemed to be a persistent injury that started in 2024, and we saw it rear its head a little bit over the course of 2025 as well. But these are things you got to take. You can't worry about this because what happened in 2025 was such an anomaly for this team that you can't let injuries now prevent you or make you gun shy on pulling the trigger on deals to bring in talent to this team to help it win.
Yeah, I know you absolutely cannot do.
He's saying 1-year deals are risky.
That's kind of what I thought at first.
Yeah, but you're right about that. Yeah. I went in the other direction, but yeah, you're right. I mean, the only reason why you could take it is once again because
the deal that they would be offered is a 4-year, $18.7 million AAV deal.
Right.
That's why. I mean, I think that would be, to your point and to our point, that would be the only reason why. And that's why I speculated that he probably would never even take the qualifying offer. He probably would take the around that price with an added year of
reject the qualifying offer,
stability.
But sign a new deal that's in the same ballpark as that figure.
But gives him a little bit of extra financial stability of
especially a player option.
If
not
I
a
get
mutual
injured,
option, not a club option, but a player option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I saw a mutual option when I was looking at these lists yesterday, and I started laughing thinking about what Jesse's always said, which is mutual options are the stupidest thing
it just means
and most pointless thing in the history of baseball.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That year's not going to happen, basically.
One person. There's never going to be a time where both the team and the player think, yes, my value is exactly that. I will play for that. There's always going to be a disagreement on who's valued more. So hopefully we don't ever see a mutual option this summer because we know that just means nothing.
You're right. But Damon, you know who I value more than maybe not you, but maybe it's members of my family.
Depends. I need to hear who it is, and then I'll tell you if it's fair.
Club members.
Fair.
It's the supporters club members.
Deborah,
they mean a lot to me.
Candace.
Yes, of course. Candace is like our OG supporter club member. I feel like the minute we were like the supporter club has happened, she hit the go button on it. And thank you to
Candace. Was like, you say
thank
jump, I say how high.
Yeah, that's right. But the rest of you can absolutely join our supporters club today. We thank you so much. We've been kicking ass. We have the most supporters in all of ALLCITY. And let me tell you, we are definitely not the strongest in numbers. Those CHGO folks came and just blew right past us with all those Chicago sports fans. But thank you.
They might have more listeners in the state of Arizona than we do, Derek.
They might, but
people are talking about it.
But our supporters are strong and loyal and vocal, and we appreciate you guys so much.
You ever seen the movie 300, Derek?
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of how I feel
us.
about this. This is PHNX. Kick the guy into the endless pit. I mean,
nobody likes us, and we don't care because we got our supporters group. That's right. But of course, you can join, get a badge, get access to some amazing emojis. No offense, but we need to get Ski in there. And I think the Mercury season is done. That seems mean to say, but I'm just saying. Kellen, thank you so much. Appreciate you for that. Of course, you get access to those custom emojis to use in the chat, and we get more. The more supporters we add, the more emojis we get access to. So this is a fun way to support us here. Not a paywall, not essential content, but of course, if you already send super chats, it's a great way for us to get that support. And again, just $5 a month. We're going to be bringing you some next level stuff for you Hall of Fame members as well. So you can join the Hall of Fame for $15 a month to unlock some bonus content. Again, we appreciate you, even if you are not part of the supporters club, especially here on this show during the off season. We appreciate you guys for being here live. It means the world to me. It means the world to Damon. And we hope you guys enjoy us still doing some off season content. We will be back tomorrow with another 12 p.m. show. But first, Damon, I wanted to drop some fun facts about Toronto since this is our new adopted home. We are Canucks.
You got 50 seconds, Derek. Let's rip them.
The city of Toronto was founded in 1793 very old city. The population of Toronto, over 2.8 million. And we welcome all of you here to this show because this is now a Blue Jays podcast, at least for the next, 9 days, hopefully 9 days. But the name of Toronto, the name Toronto, is believed to come from a Mohawk word meaning place where trees stand in water. Sounds like Vladdy Guerrero to me, right? Like it's referring to a nearby portage route, but again, the city of Toronto still called Toronto to this day. And again, not to really get involved with the Space Needle CN Tower debate that was happening here in this office, but that was a debate that was happening. The CN Tower is the tallest freestanding structure in the world. Just saying, it's a beautiful shot from inside the ballpark. But we are ready to go root on the Blue Jays. We will be back tomorrow with more free agency talk. We have more starting pitchers to break down and take a look at for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So make sure to join us for that. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at cap_caveman with a K. You can follow Damon Pooch at Damon Dog on Twitter. That's with a DAWG. And we are all Damon's Pooches. Bark, bark, or something. I don't know. That's not probably, bark, bark, Thank you to you guys. Of course, our show's at PHNX_Dbacks. But as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for being here. We thank you for now being Blue Jays fans. We will see you tomorrow at 12 p.m. Until then, have a wonderful evening. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's way more fun if you actively root against the Dodgers.
We all silly like the mayor.